Balake. Where is Balake at?
My name's Blake.
Do you want to go to war, Balake? I'm for real. Ron.
Ron is right here, everyone. Thanks for joining me. I'm joined yet again by my friend Mitch Brisker. How's it going, Mitch?
Hey, it's going good, Aaron. Good to see you again.
You as well. So hold on. Before we get started, I don't want to forget. I want to start out by showing everyone your YouTube channel. Growing nicely over here. Scientology, the big lie, how I made an evil cult look good. For those of you new to Mitch Brisker for 28 years was Scientology's film director for almost every, correct me if I'm overstating this, almost every meaningful audiovisual product produced over the last close to 30 years was something you either directed or had a meaningful role in. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, it's very accurate.
Yeah, and so that's the headline, How I Made an Evil Cult Look Good. There's one thing Scientology is known for, and that is very highly produced AV content. I mean, their commercials, their online ads, their Super Bowl commercials, they're well made. And so you personally were involved in making the Super Bowl commercials?
Yeah, absolutely. I was. I think I did the first. I didn't do the first one. I supervised it. Then I did the next 3 or 4, and then I was no longer involved. Somebody else who I trained took over.
Okay. By the way, people are mentioning. Hold on. Let me pull it up here. I just saw it. Here we go. Great shirt.
Oh my God! Did we I'm missing my logo though.
No, so last week I realized I didn't have any of my own merch. So I went and I got the coffee mug, and then today I got my little travel mug, and then the t-shirt arrived. And I don't know, do you think it's too big? The logo's too big?
No, I don't. I think there should be a variety of them. I think you should do a pocket tee with a logo on the pocket. That would be the one I would buy.
Oh, look, my mic
plugged in. God, I hate that.
You're good. I hear you. You're perfect.
No. Now you can hear me.
Yeah, so I can hear you.
I didn't have the right mic selected. Okay, so what we're really here to talk about today is something I'm excited to talk about, because I never knew that the little kid from the NeverEnding story, the whole time I was in Scientology, I had no idea he was in Scientology. I had no idea he had joined the Sea Organization. I had no idea he had worked at Scientology's international base or Golden Era Productions. I think I first found out from Mark Headley a number of years ago. And I was like, are you absolutely kidding me? How is this one of the biggest child stars of my childhood in one of my favorite movies from my childhood? How is it that this dude was in Scientology and I never heard anything about it? And this came up a few days ago in a live stream, and you said, hey, I actually knew his name is Barrett Oliver. You said, I was very close with Barrett Oliver. I knew him very well. So I'm glad you're agreed to come on and talk with me about this.
Sure. No
how is he one of the biggest child stars that most people have no idea he was in Scientology or at the international base in the Sea Organization?
Wow, I wish I had a really good question for you, answer for you on that, but I don't. It just seems to be one of the great random mysteries of life. I mean, there's no good answer for that. Like, how did that happen? I don't know. It just happened.
Well, how did he get in? What do you know about how he got in?
Well, I can just tell you, I have no idea how he got in. I'm sure he got in through his mother. I met his mother. We were both doing services at the Advanced Org of Los Angeles back, I don't know, it was during the 80s, back when I was doing the Dianetics campaign. I was doing OT3 or solo or something. And I met his mom. We were friendly at the org. We weren't really, we weren't friendly outside the org. And she introduced me to Barrett. He was hanging out at the org a lot at the Advanced Org. And he was a little bit adrift. I mean, he was no longer obviously that kid. He was like an awkward 13-year-old kid who, with spiky hair and dressed in black and wore 50 bracelets on each wrist and Doc Martens. And he was a really cool kid. I got to tell you, she asked me, because I guess he was a little bit rudderless. She just kind of asked me if I would hang out with him. I was single. I had no kids. I really like kids. I really related to adolescence, probably because I stopped maturing at about 15. So and Barrett was very much like hanging out with Barrett Oliver at 13. It was like hanging out with an adult because he was very mature, a very cool cat. So yeah, we hung out a lot, and then I lost touch with him. And when I went to Gold, because I lost touch with everything, including myself. And I think about a year after I was up there, Barrett showed up in the talent department, not wanting to act, but wanting to do something creative. So yeah, he was like a talent page, which, responsible for prepping talent, making sure they got to the set and all that. And he really didn't want to act anymore. I talked him into doing a couple of parts, and he's a really good actor. Barrett's just a super talented, super nice guy. And he was there for a couple of years, and then he left. I never knew why. So yeah.
Was he in any of Scientology's films?
Yeah, he was in that, he wasn't really interested in acting all that much anymore. I mean, I could sort of relate to his circumstance. I mean, the term child actor, you look up Barrett on Wikipedia, and he's identified as a child actor. And I mean, how many child actors do you know that didn't have at least semi-tragic outcomes, even if they made it into their adult years still being a performer? I mean, the only one I can think of who did really well is Jodie Foster, but so because there's so much anticipation, expectation about meeting someone like Barrett, who we know so well is that cute kid, and it's kind of like you get to re-experience the crushing blow of your childhood being over. It's like he's like a reminder. You get what I'm saying? And I think he lost interest in acting, I think, because he kind of had to wear that label, because it's like, I didn't really relate to him that well, because that way, because I really saw him as an individual at that age. But observing him and so forth, you could kind of see when he would meet people, they'd be like, "Oh wow, you're not that cute kid anymore," which is one of the things you have to overcome. And imagine you have, he didn't just do, we remember him for the NeverEnding Story, but he did Daryl. He was in Cocoon and the sequel. He did a bunch of good work, and he was really a good actor. And then as he grew into that, we morph as we begin to leave our childhood years, and we may become something else. But imagine being stuck in so many people's minds as that thing. It can't be easy. I don't envy kids whose careers blow up when they're young. So
I'm looking at his IMDb page right now.
Yeah.
So he was Bastion in NeverEnding Story.
Yeah.
He
was in Daryl, which was also a pretty big hit.
Okay. And he was Daryl in Daryl. What was Daryl about? I forget.
Daryl was about like an AI kid. I'm trying to remember that he was, I don't think he was human. I think he was an AI.
He was like an android?
Yeah, because DARYL was the letters of whatever species of scientific fantasy made for a movie was. I don't remember, but it was a terribly sweet film. And then, he was in Cocoon, which was a huge hit.
So I'm looking at this. 1984 is when NeverEnding Story came out. 1985 is when Daryl came out. 1985 is also when Cocoon came out. Oh my God, I haven't seen that movie in so long. I have no memory of who he was in that movie, but
he must have been one of the, maybe when they, either a grandchild of one of the old people, or maybe he was one of the old people when they became young again. I don't remember. We'll have to do a watch party, I guess.
I know, right?
Figure it out.
So 1988 is Cocoon: The Return. And then 1989, there's a movie called Scenes from the Class Struggle in Beverly Hills. I don't know what that was.
I never saw that one.
And 1989 is his last actor credit. What year would you have first met him in LA?
Okay, do you have his birthday there? Or can you see his birthday? We'll figure it out.
Let me see. Does it
say like
August 1973?
73, 83, 83, 4.
So he was 16. He was 16 when he did his last.
80. He was. I thought he was. Yeah, he could have been 16. I thought he was like somewhere between 13 and 16, and then it would have been a couple of years after that he joined the Sea Org and came to Gold.
So, but do you remember when you met him in LA? Was he still a working actor, or was it already something he'd already put behind him?
No, he was not. Not that we never talked about that. I think he very much appeared to me that he'd walked away from acting, especially once he joined the Sea Org and came up to Gold, where he had plenty of opportunities to be in films, but I guess they'd recruit. I imagine they recruited him for the talent department because he was out of that world of acting. So
I'm seeing some comments. Let me just make sure my microphone is still good. Okay. There's something here that has always confused me about how Scientology, on the one hand, embraces successful actors and entertainers and uses them to promote Scientology, as we all know. But on the other hand, and so many second-generation Scientologists will tell you this story, second-generation Scientologists who tell Sea Org recruiters that their goal is to become successful in the entertainment industry and help promote Scientology, they are basically invalidated and made to feel they're basically told that is a ridiculous thing to do. There's already people doing that. Like there are people who are immensely talented. I can think of at least 3 right off the top of my head. I'm just not going to name them. Who the Sea Org should, the Sea Org as should have pushed them to become big celebrities. And instead they're like, no, that's off purpose. You should join the Sea Org. I mean, one of them happens to be the wife of someone we've been talking about a lot on this channel, Gavin Potter. She was in Dead Poets Society. She was a very successful actress. She had a bright future ahead of her. Instead, they, bogged her down with Scientology debt and told her, oh, we can wipe your debt away if you join the Sea Org. And she became stuck in the Sea Org from then on. Barrett Oliver is someone. He was already a successful, famous actor. Why in the world would they even let a kid like that join the Sea Org instead of pushing him to continue to be a successful actor?
Well, that's a good question. I don't think it's just actors. I think it's anybody who has a kind of personal goal in a career. I mean, you could want to, maybe you were focused on chemistry and your goal was to win a Nobel Prize, which would be, a great plum feather in Scientology's cap to have someone who won a Nobel Prize, but they would dissuade you from that and say, well, that's a ridiculous goal because, the world is basically spinning out of control and we need to save it. So I don't know. There's no good answer for that. I think if the person, when he was recruited, he didn't have that kind of daily cachet in the papers and so forth. It was kind of like he was a child star. So he was kind of easy pickings. And I think he was a bit rudderless. The 2 things that Scientology exploits to get people in general, whether it's for the Sea Org or just in Scientology, it's your idealism and your need for a community. And, as a 16-year-old kid, he was very idealistic, very smart, super high IQ. And he was adrift, he needed some community. He was kind of, I think, easy pickings. But it's not just actors that they'll do that to. But I tell you, Aaron, the real tragedy is Yvonne Gent, who started Celebrity Center. She started it to do what you said they should be doing. She started it to really help people, especially actors, stabilize their careers and really move forward and have successful careers. I mean, that's why Celebrity Center was started, which gives you some idea of how far adrift it's gone.
Right. I mean, Scientology, even as a rule, you are not even allowed to initiate a conversation with a celebrity or a child of a celebrity about recruiting them. Nora Ames has a very funny story she told about accidentally trying to recruit. Oh my God. I think it might've been Catherine Bell. I'm going to forget it. But, and then it wasn't, it was Kate Sobrano. It was Kate Sobrano. She didn't know she didn't know who Kate Sobrano was. And she approached her in the, with the Pavilion Cafe. What do they call it outside of the Celebrity Center?
The Pavilion? The Rose Garden. Yeah, Rose Garden.
And she was like hard sell recruiting her.
Oh my God.
And then Kate Sobrano went to the president's office to tell the president what a great job Nora did trying to recruit her. And that if I wasn't Kate Sobrano, I would have joined.
Wow. She was trying to compliment her, right? But
without knowing it, she was like signing Nora's death warrant.
Yeah, exactly.
But but that's why I go, what? How did they let Barrett Oliver join the Sea Org? But
they should have been counseling him to get back on his career. You're right. They should, they should anything but recruiting him.
Yeah. So
he only lasted a couple of years.
Right. It's true. It's true. I wonder if they gave him a freeloader debt.
I
Did you
would
know?
love to talk to him and find out.
Did you know him first or his mother first?
His mom.
Okay, so
I don't even remember her name. We were only friendly at the org, and I had run into Barrett and started talking to him, and we struck up, a little friendship. And then his mom said, "Hey, Barrett really likes you, and he doesn't really have a lot of friends right now, and would you mind hanging out with him and stuff?" And I'm like, "Nah." So I was kind of like, a brick brother.
when you said I was only friendly with her in the org, what does that mean?
Well, in other words, it's like you have friends in school that you never saw outside of school, right? Well,
Okay.
I'm sorry, you grew up in a cult. There's
Yeah,
this
no.
thing called school. No, I'm just kidding.
I see. So,
yeah.
but like, I guess I don't know how friendly you got with her in the org. So I would ask, from what you got to know of her, like when I asked earlier, how did Barrett? No, hold on. Let me ask the question. When I said, how did he even get into Scientology? Did you know her enough to know, was he born into Scientology?
I don't know. I actually never had that conversation with her. But I mean, we were friendly. We'd have coffee together and talk. We were on courses together. She was like, like a schoolmate, but not somebody I hung out with. She was divorced at the time. And Barrett, he was kind of his only child. He doesn't have any siblings that I ever knew of. If he did, then that's really weird that I wouldn't have known that. But I don't know. My impression was that his mom was quite a bit up the bridge. She was at least OT3, if not OT5. And that takes some time to do. So I can't imagine if he wasn't born into it, he was certainly raised for many years in Scientology.
That's why I can't believe I didn't.
Yeah, it's mind blowing. I know
about him until just a few years ago when Mark Headley told, because the second generation Scientology community is so small and, relatively speaking, that it's like, there's gotta be someone out there who was like his schoolmate or his buddy or his girlfriend or something. And okay, what was the time like when you when he went up to international management or specifically he was Golden Air Productions, right?
Yeah. Well, let me just say first, Barrett was very much a loner. He was kind of very kept to himself kind of person. So he may not have had a lot of people that would, I'm not sure I totally understand your question. What was it like when I went up there? Well,
no, I didn't finish the question.
Oh, sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry, Aaron. I'm so sorry.
So you were up there. You were up there as a director. He shows up as a talent coordinator, whatever you said.
Yeah.
Did you get to work with him?
Oh yeah, I worked with him like all the time.
Oh,
his senior, who was married anyway, his senior, who was the talent chief, she left after a few years and had a very successful career as a commercial producer, which when I left Scientology, she reached out to me and thanked me for teaching her all kind of stuff about making films, whatever. And I was like thinking, God, I should have just left and gone to work with her because she actually did really well. That was her senior. And so I interacted constantly with the talent department because casting actors. And Barrett was in that department. Plus, I see him all the time. Plus, I'd known him before he was in the Sea Org. And people at Gold, there was only a couple. I had Barrett and one other person who had actually been my FSM. And I'm sure you've told your audience that's the public Scientologist who kind of takes responsibility for helping you continue up the bridge while they collect 15% or 10% of everything you spend. So she had ended up in international management and Barrett ended up there. And people that you were friends with and then you saw at Gold, they were kind of special connections.
Oh, well, now you got me interested. Who got you into Scientology? You said she was your FSM, had been your FSM?
Yeah, but no, she was my FSM way, many 20 years after I got into Scientology.
Oh, I got it.
Yeah, that was just, you know how that works. If you don't have an FSM.
I know how that works, but I'm not the audience.
Yeah. But yeah, so yeah.
So let me explain real quick. So
yeah, go ahead.
Your FSM at any given point is whoever is currently getting credit for being your biggest cheerleader and enabler for you taking your next step on the bridge. They also happen to be the one that's getting a commission for every new course or auditing action that you do. And if someone is your FSM and they sort of fall out of contact with you and they're not actively in touch with you, someone else can jump in and become your new FSM.
Yeah. If you don't have an FSM, somebody will just say, oh, well, when you sign up for your next course, just put me down, would you? I could use the 10%. I mean, it's not, sometimes it's on that level.
Usually people just have their spouse be their FSM. So you get the commission comes back into the family.
Yeah, it stays in the family, right?
So Barrett Oliver is working at Golden Era Productions.
Yeah.
Did he seem to be a true Scientology believer or just someone who was there to do a job?
No, he seemed to be, again, adrift. He seemed to be a little dissociated.
Even up there.
Sorry?
Even up there.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm giving you my sort of an insightful perception that's just intuitive, that's not necessarily based on anything other than the anecdote of knowing him. He didn't seem like gung-ho at all. And he also, as I said, he seemed to walk away from acting. I mean, I talked him into, he did the one part in How the E-Meter Works, the first one, the one with Michelle Stafford. You saw that one.
Oh, yeah. Was he in that?
Yeah, he's in that film.
Oh, my God.
Settle down.
Now that you said, like, I saw that film probably 500 times.
Well, I can tell you which part it was. You may not have noticed it.
What was it, a speaking role?
Yeah, he had one line, and it was an explosive line.
You can't not notice a speaking line in a tech film, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, some of them were terrible.
But go ahead. What was the line? What was the line?
I'm trying to think. Okay, there's a scene where the Michelle Stafford character was confused about the e-meter because she worked for an engineering company, and the engineers kept asking her, how does this thing work? And she couldn't tell them. So her boss at the whatever company that just happens to have an auditor on staff, because that's how Hubbard painted the universe, like, oh, every company will have a staff auditor. He sent her to a lecture by some renowned electrical scientist who was just this nutty professor. And during that scene, Barrett stands up and says something about the email. He asked a question.
And I can't believe that's Barrett Oliver. Oh my
God. And then a government agent stands up and says, the e-meter works on hand sweat, and does this whole crazy thing.
I can't believe it.
Do you remember that? Do you remember the part though?
I absolutely remember the part. And then I remember she goes in, and Michael Fairman and Tate Rupert are the people who show her how the e-meter works.
Absolutely.
Can I tell you a funny Tate Rupert story?
Sure.
When there was a 2-year period from 1998 to 2000 where I was just living in Hollywood, not really having anything to do with Scientology. And I went to Central Casting and I got signed up as a background, as an extra. And my very first movie that I worked on as an extra happened to be The General's Daughter with John Travolta and Madeline Stowe and Cromwell. Sure. What's his first name? James Cromwell.
Is it? Yeah, I think it is. The actor.
And I worked on this movie for so long that I became SAG eligible just from working on this movie. And and at some point, and I was just a background extra, but at some point, one of the production assistants was running around checking, take off your hat, because it was a military movie. Everybody's wearing like camouflage and hats, trying to match, check people's like hair color and eye color. And you have to remember, I had nothing to do with Scientology for these 2 years.
Right.
And so they picked me, total coincidentally, to be Tate Rupert's stand-in on The General's Daughter. Okay. Wow. So even though I had nothing to do with Scientology, I still considered myself a Scientologist.
Sure.
And so when Tate, and I'd already seen Tate is in so many tech films. Okay.
Well, he used to be. So.
Well, all right. So they bring me over to this trailer and Tate comes out. I didn't even know the guy's name. And I go, I know you from all the tech films.
That's crazy.
And he goes, oh, you're a Scientologist. And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, oh, it's so good to have other uptone people on the set. And my first thought was, oh my God, that's so theedy-weedy. Uptone?
Yeah,
like, that's not how staff members and Sea Org members think about each other. Oh, we're so uptone. And I was, and I thought, is that how these celebrity Scientologists think? It's just everyone's just uptone. And so anyway, that was my first time randomly meeting Tate Rupert. A total coincidence.
Yeah.
And okay, so I cannot believe that was Barrett Oliver in that
that was Barrett Oliver. Yeah.
Is there anything else that you remember, any other Scientology films that he was in at all?
I don't. That's the only one that came to mind. He may have been an extra, and we would do a lot of sequences in course rooms or crowd shots or whatever. He may have been in there,
but that doesn't count, right? Yeah, but okay.
Yeah.
That is so fascinating. Okay, so you might have already said this. Forgive me if I missed it.
Yeah, no problem.
So you knew him, you knew his mom. Was his dad not on the scene?
Dad was not on the scene. As far my recollection is that they were divorced.
And no idea if that guy was a Scientologist or not.
No idea. Absolutely none.
Huh.
My impression was that he was a single kid living with his mom.
Wow. I have to find out more about this. For any of you guys out there who grew up with Barrett, were in the Sea Org with Barrett, did the EPF with Barrett, because for him to get to INT, I mean, were they just sending anybody? I mean, I know Mark Headley tells a story on how he sort of almost accidentally wound up there.
Yeah, but still, Mark had a production record in LA, which was, I think you had to have a 2-year production record. I mean, obviously not me, but to as a Sea Org member to go up there, which is, they would recruit people for gold, Sea Org recruiters, because it was appeared to be such a plum job. And then they'd find out that they were working in the galley somewhere, and they were like, "Oh, didn't you read the fine print? You have to have a 2-year production record." So I think, that was a sort of a flexible rule, because I can't imagine. It wasn't 2 years between the time I saw Barrett and the time I saw him show up in the Sea Org. So I'm sure because he had been a celebrity, he would be, kind of a useful person in terms of hiring actors and so forth, because it's like, oh, this kid works for us. That's a real legitimizing factor. Yeah. No?
You would think so, but then to park him in some backlines job up at INT where no one's going to see him or anything. I mean, that's how I think about it. But of course, it's just intensely confusing to me, to be honest.
It's like there was not anybody else like him up there. That's for sure. So I guess nobody.
So then when he left or disappeared, I guess that wasn't particularly newsworthy or noteworthy because it just happened all the time.
Well, one of the things is you're so engaged in work that you sort of just get swept up in whatever the current event is you're working on. And because I had no contact with Barrett outside, like I didn't know his mom well enough to have her phone number or whatever, he routed out, which is what I was told. So I don't think he, as we say, climbed the fence, or one of the other that was one of the euphemisms for blowing was,
are you serious?
He hopped the fence, or took a hike or whatever. People would say that, but from what I recall, he routed out. So he went through whatever torturous path they put you on to get out of the Sea Org.
I believe you told me that Barrett is like a really high level photographer. I'm looking for him on.
I read that, and apparently he's like a professor or an instructor at a university, and he specializes in a kind of a sort of an antique process of wet plate photography. I'm fascinated by it. Barrett, if you ever get a message, please contact me. Please go to my YouTube channel or whatever.
I'm looking him up right now on Instagram. I want to show everyone.
I would love to talk to him again. Especially considering what he's doing now.
So
I didn't even look for an Instagram. Oh, he's on Instagram. I'll send him a message.
Is this
silly
him?
Me? Let me see. I don't know. No, that's not him.
Oh shit! I'm showing the wrong dude.
Yeah, that's not Barrett Oliver. That's like, I don't think he's on social media.
Party foul.
I found photos of him. He has like an Al Qaeda kind of beard, but I don't think he's a.
Well, how would you know? How would you know that though?
Know what?
How would you know that he has an Al Qaeda type beard?
Because there's a photo. I saw a photo of him. He has a kind of a Muslim kind of beard.
Oh, he's not on social media, but you found a photo?
Yeah, I found a photo of him. I think somebody did an article. Hey, can you chill there? Somebody did an article. I'm sorry about that, but there's just someone found an article that
I'm trying to
said basically the kid from NeverEnding Story is today unrecognizable, and he's teaching photography, and they had a photo of him. And I would like to know the Barrett Oliver who's actually doing what needs to be
I
doing in live.
see the photos that you're talking about. Yeah, he looks like he went and joined Al Qaeda.
Yeah, but I doubt that he's
That's
done
gonna
that.
get this video age gated. No, I'm just kidding. I'm trying to look at the date of this photo though, and yeah, the internet
It's
doesn't.
a couple years ago. I think it's a couple. It's
It's
pretty
doesn't want
fresh.
to cooperate. Okay, so Barrett Oliver, if you're out there, we're looking for you, buddy. We want to.
Yeah, we would just really want to say hi. You know, you don't have to come on YouTube or post a selfie with me, but you were a dear friend, and I'd love to see you again.
So if Barrett Oliver wanted to contact you, what's the best way to reach you?
MitchBrisker@gmail.com.
There you go. Anything else? Anything else you want to say on this topic?
No, I think it was an interesting way of touching some other aspects of the. You know, you did say something earlier about Tate Rupert's when he said it's nice to have uptone people, and I think that was not. And you were like, well, this is how. You know, it was a bit odd the way he did that, but I think that was generally a thing, especially in that era. With Scientology, it was like you don't want to be around people that are kind of down tone. You know, you want to be around uptone people. So
yeah, I guess so.
I think there was a lot of that.
The thing is that in the Sea Org, everyone's pretty much at anger or antagonism or hostility.
Yeah. Plus, in the Sea Org, you would say it's nice to be around on purpose people, not uptone people.
You nailed it.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. If you're not already, go over, subscribe to Mitch Brisker on YouTube at Mitch Brisker. Can't miss him. Can't miss him. There are a couple. Let's take a look at this. Jake M. Does the church have procedures to destroy documents in the event law enforcement raids them? Jake, if they do, I have zero knowledge of any such procedures.
Yeah. Yeah. It's called, you go down to Office Depot and you buy a shredder. So it's pretty easy.
Keela McDonald. Aaron, I love the shirt. Thank you for sharing all the information you find with everyone. You are appreciated, no matter what anyone says.
Wow.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's a high praise.
Wow.
I think they're just referring to that one person that you did a stream on yesterday.
Oh, I know. All right. So I have at least two other awesome interviews, chats we're going to do sometime between now and the rest of the day. So stay tuned for that, everybody. Hit that like button.
I'll be watching them.
Okay. Awesome. I got to get all my buttons.
Okay, good.
Figured out here.
Hey, great talking to you, Aaron. Thanks a lot for inviting me on.
My pleasure, man. Absolutely. Anytime.
Great.
Let me see. I'm almost ready to end it. Thanks for watching, everyone.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone who watches until the very end. Talk to you guys soon.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, then you could click right inside here. If you have subscribed or not, subscribe right here. Bye.